Over the last few weekends, we've been quietly working through the Sermon on the Mount of St. Matthew's Gospel. We began, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago now, with the famous Beatitudes, the litany of those blessed R's that we get. Through to last week's Gospel, reminding us that we are to be both salt of the earth and light of the world. To the Gospel today. I love how Archbishop Fulton Sheen, the famous American television and radio evangelizer, reflects upon this moment in the Gospel. He describes it beautifully as Christ's blueprint for the Christian soul. This, then, is what has opened up before us over these last few weeks. Archbishop Sheen reminds us that this moment of the Gospel, the Sermon on the Mount, is not a political manifesto or a social program, but rather a revolution of the heart. And I really do love that description of this part of the Gospel. A revolution of the heart. Within this context, then, Jesus challenges his listeners. And that challenge is not to be satisfied with worldly standards. And so Jesus turns things on their heads. We get a sense of that, don't we, right at the start of those Beatitudes, in those blessed R's. The value Jesus places is not on that which is worldly, those worldly expectations, that worldly success, but on something more, something greater. As we continue to hear the words of Jesus speaking to the crowd gathered round him, we begin to recognize in a new way that he sees his priority not in the external compliance of the law, of what's going on at the surface of things, but rather on that interior transformation of the soul. This, then, is the revolution of the heart, which Archbishop Sheen is speaking about. And so we arrive to today's part of the Gospel, today's part of the Sermon on the Mount. And we hear those challenges in the, "You have heard it said, but I say to you." These then become the vehicles through which we are invited to begin to go deeper, to dig beneath the surface of life, beneath that which is worldly, beneath the status quo perhaps, where we might feel a bit stuck at, and to open ourselves up to the possibility of that interior transformation of the soul. Archbishop Sheen describes how the Gospel reveals to us the portrait of Jesus himself. As we place ourselves on that mountain, as we place ourselves at Jesus' feet, the challenge which Jesus makes to us is not first and foremost about self-help or simply getting on in the world. That limits the vision, because there's a lot more going on than this. But rather he reveals to us how to get to heaven. And I think this is something which is quite powerful. And when I was reading the transcript of Fulton Sheen's talk when he said this, the transcriber notes in the text that this line, he says, got an applause because it stings. And it's true, isn't it? It does make us sort of sit up and think about things. Perhaps then it is appropriate that we begin to move away from the mountain, the place of Jesus' discourse with us, to take up our Lenten journey. It is in the desert of Lent where the powerful work of grace has the space to take root, to dwell with us, sit with us, and so to transform us. It is in this season of Lent, which begins on Wednesday with Ash Wednesday, where the revolution of the heart has the opportunity of leading to the transformation of the soul. May this time of Lent, a time so precious to us, not merely be a time of external actions, of giving things up or taking things on, but a sacred moment which will draw us into a deeper dependence on God. Amen.